everybody, welcome back to Messy Vegan Baker. I'm Christina, and today we're going to be continuing on the candy route, and we're going to be making something very exciting, I hope. It's one of my favorite candies, although, as we know, I basically liked any and every kind of candy that was chocolate. See, I got distracted. Today, we're going to be making vegan Twix bars. So that's pretty exciting. I loved these bars before I went vegan, and I figured, why not make them? Because theoretically, we'll see, they're easy to make. All you need is a shortbread cookie and then caramel, and then just dunk it in chocolate. So wish me luck. Hopefully it goes well. I'm excited. Without further ado, let's get baking. So first we're gonna do the shortbread base. We're gonna do this all in the same pan and just kind of like layer it up, if that makes sense. Hopefully it will in a minute. So we're gonna start with shortbread cookie. So this is by Mark Bittman's How to Bake Everything. So to make this, you're gonna take an 8x8 inch pan and you're going to spray the bottom and the sides with olive oil or cooking spray. And then you're going to put parchment paper in the pan and make sure there is overhang on two of the sides or on both sides. So you can easily pull it out of the pan. And you're gonna set that aside. And then, okay, maybe we should redo this. Hold on. Okay. I marked this, I think. Granted, that doesn't say much. Why did I not mark this? That was stupid. Classic shortbread. Here we are. Okay, also just a side note, I don't know if this is important, but I did a half of a recipe because he has a cake pan shortbread, and he said grease 2 8 or 9 inch cake pans and then divide the dough in half. But when I went to go and divide the dough, it didn't look like there was much. So I just ended up doing the whole recipe, and we'll see if that was a good idea or not. So to make this classic shortbread, you are going to use vegan butter. I'm using one that I personally made, which is really cool, but use whatever kind you want and make sure it is at room temperature. And you're going to put that in your bowl, and then some confectioner sugar or powdered sugar, and you're going to beat that until it is a light creamy homogeneous texture. And then you're going to add in your egg yolk, which I used. Oh, I didn't read that properly. Oops. It's fine. You're gonna add in, it says 1 egg yolk. I did not read that at all. Why am I like this? I don't know. I just added in aquafaba, and I did a whole egg, so I don't know what we'll do about that. Mine turned out fine, so if it honestly is crunchy and crispy like it is, I don't know. We'll deal with that later. Okay, so 1 egg yolk. So you're going to add the egg yolk. I used aquafaba just because I had it and it was easy. And you mix that until it is, again, a nice, fluffy, homogeneous mixture. And then you're going to stop the mixer, add in the flour and the salt, and mix that until just barely combined. And it will be more of a drier dough, but you can squish it together. And that's how you know it's not too dry. Then you're going to take the dough and transfer it to the 8x8 inch or 9x9 inch pan, and you're going to flatten it out on the bottom. Poke some holes in it with a fork so that it bakes evenly. You're going to stick it in the fridge for 30 minutes to let it firm up, and then you're going to heat your oven to about 275 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you're going to take the pan and put it in the oven and bake for, he said 35 to 40 minutes, and maybe because I did a thicker shortbread and I had too much liquid in there, that could be why mine actually ended up baking almost an hour, I'm pretty sure. And just keep an eye on it until your shortbread is golden brown on the top and on the edges. So you take it out, you let it cool, and then I put that in the fridge because I made it a day before and just left it there until today when I made the caramel. Now I'm curious if I had done, why does this need an egg yolk anyways? I feel like that's super weird because shortbread is super hard, and why is that there? I don't know. That's gonna bother me, but we'll figure it out. I'll have that in the blog. For the caramel, I decided to use my recipe from Part Candies, which if you haven't seen that video, you should go check it out. It is linked up below. I mean, above. So after your shortbread is out on the counter cooling, or if it's in the fridge and it's the next day, then you can make your caramel. I also wanted to test my recipe out just to make sure that it is legit, and if you followed it, it would actually, turn out. So to make your caramel, you are going to have 1 can of chilled coconut cream. And I recommend putting 2 cans in there. You should be able to get away with 1 can, but just in case you don't have enough, worst case, you can scoop out the extra and put it in a container and put plastic wrap on top of it, and then the lid, and then put it in the freezer. And then you can take it out anytime you want. And that's kind of my new favorite hack. And vegan butter, I used my own, but there's a million other great vegan butter recipes, like Earth Balance and whatever, so use whatever kind you want. So you need 1 cup of chilled coconut cream in a bowl, and then you're going to do 5 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup and 1 tablespoon of vegan butter. And you're going to put that in that bowl, and I put it in the microwave for a little bit because they were both at room temperature at that point, so you don't have to warm them up, but I just wanted them to be a little more liquidy and a little warmer, just for ease of mind, so that hopefully it would mix into the caramel faster and better and easier, but you don't have to. And then I added the vanilla into that bowl and just mix it and leave it on your stove or close to your stove wherever you're making your caramel. And then you also want to make sure that you have your candy thermometer, a bowl of water, and a pastry brush, and maybe another bowl with ice cold water in it if you want to test your candy that way. So make sure all of that stuff is over at the stove so you are prepared and don't have to run around like a crazy person. And then in your saucepan, you're going to put in 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of corn syrup, and a 1/4 cup of water. You're going to put it on the stove at medium, maybe medium-high heat, and you're going to mix the sugar. There's multiple ways to do this, so I like to mix it until it's at least heating up and it's more liquidy, and then I'll leave it and just wash the sides down with my water and pastry brush so there's no sugar crystals. And then once it starts to boil, I'll put in my candy thermometer. If you mix it until it boils and is clear, that works too. If you just mix it until it's just combined and then leave it, that's also probably pretty good. However, if you don't have a heavy bottom saucepan, I definitely recommend stirring it for longer just to make sure that the sugar is being melted and heated up as evenly as possible. Wow, so much information. So then, again, once it starts to boil, don't stir it. Just put your candy thermometer in there and wipe the sugar crystals down so you have 0 of that. And then I ended up moving my heat to I don't know what it is, high, low, high. I don't know. It was here's medium, and then I went up to high, the next notch to high. I don't know what that is, but I did turn it up a little bit just to help the sugar climb to that temperature a little bit faster. So you might want to do that as well. And you want that sugar to get up to 320 degrees Fahrenheit for caramel. Or for me, it was 308 degrees because of my altitude/elevation. And I will have the blog post to the candy corn because that has about what your temperature should be, or what your water boils at different elevations, so you can kind of get a better idea for that if you don't know if you need to adjust or not. So as it gets closer to that temperature, it's going to start to get really dark, and at that point you can take the pan and kind of swivel it around to try to evenly disperse that dark color. And then just leave it, and I waited until it got a really dark amber brown because I think that's the color you want. And then at that point, it was about 308 degrees, so I took it off the heat. I poured in my cream, butter, and vanilla mixture, and then I mixed it together. I was kind of having issues, but we made it until the cream and butter were completely melted. And then I put my candy thermometer back in, put it back on the stove, and just let it cook to 245 degrees, or for me it was about 233, 32 degrees. And then once it hit that temperature, I took it off the stove, and you want your shortbread pan out at this point. And I kind of let it cool down a little bit just because I was scared that if I put it on the shortbread at that high of a heat, it would melt everything. But I also didn't want to wait too long, so I just waited until the caramel no longer boiled, and then I scraped it all into that pan, distributed it evenly, and then you stick it in the fridge for 2 hours or overnight. I haven't done this part yet, but I will walk you through it. We're going to do my tried and true chocolate tempering thing. One day I will temper, but... So I used like 1.5 pounds of Trader Joe's chocolate because it is one of the cheapest, and I think it's a great chocolate brand. I'm sure there are chocolate snobs who don't like it, but whatever. So I get the dark chocolate, and then I do a little bit of their vegan milk chocolate, and I put like a teaspoon between a tablespoon of coconut oil. You're gonna take that, you can put it over a double boiler and melt it that way, or you can put it in the microwave at 30-second increments, take it out, mix it, put it back in, and keep doing that until it is melted. And then set that aside for a few minutes just to let it cool a little bit. Make sure you have a pan that is covered with wax paper, parchment paper, or a silicone baking mat. And again, I like to put it in the fridge for like 5 to 10 minutes before I start dunking so that it doesn't slide as much and the chocolate sets a little faster, at the bottom anyways. While that's cooling, measure out your bars and cut them to whatever size you want. I'll probably cut it every inch and then probably by 4s again, because that's a really nice size. And yeah, then you just dunk it in the chocolate, and you can set it on little barbecue sticks if you want, or just set it right on the plate, whatever you want. Yeah, let it set. You can put it in the fridge to help it set faster, and then voila. And these will stay for up to 2 weeks if you keep them in an airtight container in the fridge. Whew. So that's setting, and I will taste them. Okay, so everything is done and dipped and dunked, and they're in the fridge setting. So I definitely recommend letting them sit in the fridge for 20-ish minutes, maybe a little bit more, just to make sure everything really sets. And also make sure you give your caramel enough time to set. I think that's my biggest issue, is I always get really impatient and I don't want to wait 2+ hours. So make sure you wait the minimum of 2 hours, and ideally more, because the longer you let it sit, the more it'll solidify. So here's one. There were a few issues. So this is not a perfect Twix bar recipe, but we will get closer to it. So not too shabby for my first time. I actually was worried that there would be too much cookie, but I think that's a great amount. I definitely think I needed to bake it a lot longer, just because some of the pieces weren't super crunchy. They're more crumbly, but it's a nice thickness, especially to help kind of offset the caramel. That's really sweet. But overall, it's really good, especially for my first attempt. I'm quite pleased with this. Just a little more finagling on the shortbread to make it a little bit more crunchy, although it is a pretty nice crunch right now. And honestly, just letting the caramel sit. It's probably really hot in here again. So that's another thing I need to try to do, is like cool it off before I take it out so the caramel melts less, theoretically. Yes, I definitely recommend trying this. It's super fun, pretty easy, honestly. You just have to make caramel, which I have figured out and I am low-key a pro at now. I'll have the link to this blog post / recipe down below, and you guys should go check it out. So let me know in the comments down below what your favorite candy bar was before going vegan, or if you're not vegan, what's your favorite candy bar? I'm curious. If you're new here, hi, welcome. Hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you made it this far, you probably have. And if you haven't, you can hit that like button and that subscribe button, because I'm almost to 100 subscribers. So that'd be a really cool thing to do by like March. If you are a regular here, hi, welcome back. Thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. I really love getting to talk to you guys and interact with you guys in the comments down below too. That's really fun. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys learned something and or were entertained, and I will see all of you lovely humans next time. Bye. What am I saying? This recipe is from Bark Mittens. Can you imagine if you had Bark as a name? I need some recipes in front of me. Why is my brain not together? Hold on. With caramel. What? That doesn't make sense. Sometimes I don't know why I open my mouth, because nothing intelligent comes out.